We've all been there, right? Staring at a massive to-do list, feeling completely and totally stuck. Well, we're going to get into the neuroscience of what's actually happening in your brain in those moments, and more importantly, how you can flip a little biological switch to get started and, actually finish any task. You know that feeling. That big project is due, the deadline's getting closer, but suddenly cleaning out the junk drawer feels like the most important mission on planet Earth. It's this quiet, internal battle between what you know you should be doing and, well, literally anything else. Okay, and this is probably the most important thing to get right off the bat. Let's reframe this whole thing. That feeling of being paralyzed, it is not a character flaw. It is not you being lazy. It is a predictable glitch, a biological reflex. And once you understand how that glitch works, you can start working with your brain instead of always fighting against it. So let's dive right into that glitch. The reason you feel so torn, so pulled in two directions, is because there is a literal conflict, a biological tug-of-war happening inside your head. And understanding the two teams pulling on that rope is the very first step to making sure the right one wins. So on one side of the rope, you've got your limbic system. Just think of this as the ancient emotional survivor part of your brain. Its job for thousands of years has been super simple: keep you safe, seek pleasure, avoid pain, and save energy. So when it sees a big, tough task, it just freaks out and pulls the emergency brake. But on the other side, you have your prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO. This is the newer, more logical part that's all about long-term planning and making smart choices. It knows that finishing that report is what really matters. And there you have it. Procrastination is simply what happens when the limbic system wins the tug-of-war. It's the moment your ancient emotional brain, screaming for comfort right now, overpowers your logical, future-thinking CEO. This isn't an excuse. It's just a straight-up neurological explanation. But what's fueling this battle in the first place? What's the gas in our motivational engine? To get that, we need to zoom in and look at things on a chemical level. And this brings us to a huge misunderstanding. We always hear dopamine called the pleasure molecule, but honestly, it's way more accurate to call it the motivation molecule. See, it's not the pleasure you get from the reward itself that gets you moving. It's the chemical kick you get from anticipating that reward. That's what actually drives you to take action. This is exactly why starting is always the hardest part. When a task seems massive or the reward feels like it's a million miles away, your brain just doesn't release much dopamine. The effort seems way too high for the payoff. And this creates what neuroscientists call brain inertia. That powerful, heavy feeling of being completely stuck, like you're trying to push a car that's run out of gas. Okay, so we get the battle and we get the fuel. Now for the good part, the strategy. This isn't about using willpower and brute force against your brain. Nope. It's about being clever. It's about outsmarting its ancient wiring. Here's how you can actually flip that motivational switch on. First up, we have the 2-minute rule. I know, it sounds almost ridiculously simple, but it is neurologically brilliant. Just pick that one thing you're avoiding and promise yourself you'll do it for only 2 minutes. Not finish it, just start it. Want to write that essay? Just open the document and write one sentence. Want to clean the kitchen? Just load one dish into the dishwasher. That's it. So here's the magic behind why this works. A tiny 2-minute task is so small, so non-threatening, that it flies completely under the radar of your limbic system. It doesn't set off any of those avoid pain alarms. And that simple act of just starting releases that first crucial little hit of dopamine. That little bit of momentum is often all your brain's CEO needs to grab the rope and take control. And that leads perfectly into our next tool, chunking. See, huge, vague goals like finish the project are total motivation killers because the reward is just too far away to trigger any dopamine. So what's the solution? You manufacture your own. You break that big, scary task down into ridiculously small, concrete steps. Every little item you check off, like create and title the document, gives you a satisfying little dopamine hit, which creates this awesome feedback loop that fuels you to do the next tiny thing. Getting started is a huge win, but how do we keep that ball rolling? Well, the ultimate goal is to make these things you want to do so easy, so second nature, they just become automatic. And that brings us to this really powerful technique called habit stacking. The whole idea is to piggyback a new habit you want to build onto a habit that's already completely automatic for you. The old habit becomes the trigger, the cue for the new one. So, for instance, instead of just hoping you'll stretch more, you decide, after I brush my teeth, which is totally automatic, I will do 2 minutes of stretching. Or, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write for 2 minutes. You're not relying on flaky things like willpower or motivation anymore. You're literally hijacking a neural pathway that already exists. Now, here's why this is so effective. When a behavior becomes a real habit, your brain actually rewires itself. The action physically moves from the energy-hungry prefrontal cortex to a different part of the brain called the basal ganglia, which handles all your automatic stuff. This makes the habit what you could call neurologically cheap. It just doesn't require a big push from your brain's CEO anymore to get going. You're putting your goals on autopilot. So after going through that internal tug-of-war and the chemistry that drives it, the biggest takeaway here isn't just a new trick, it's a whole new way of looking at things. Let's just quickly recap the big ideas. First, and I can't say this enough, stop beating yourself up. Procrastination is a biological reflex. It's not about you. Second, remember that motivation runs on the anticipation of a reward, and you can totally manufacture that yourself by breaking tasks down. And finally, you beat that feeling of being stuck by starting ridiculously small, and then you make those good behaviors stick by turning them into automatic habits. The whole point here is that this isn't about fighting your brain, it's about learning to work with its natural wiring. So I'm going to leave you with one final question. Forget the giant to-do list for a second. Just pick one thing. What is one thing you can work on for just 2 minutes right now?